far as our topic of the day is going to be revolving around child safety in the home. And what we're talking about here are elements within the home that are hazardous to small children. Yes, I know you're 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old is still a child, but they're old enough that they should probably know better, but lots of times they will do things that you would not expect a 4-year-old to do. So having 2 boys myself, so we do unexpected things. Now, as far as the child safety in the home, let's start out with some statistics here. All right. So children ages 1 to 4, according to the CDC, there are approximately 3,800 deaths per year. Okay, and this was a 2021 statistic. So 3,800 deaths of children between the ages of 1 and 4. Children ages 5 to 14, there was almost 6,000 deaths in 2021. And I think that's avoidable in most cases. Okay. Now, as far as these deaths, suffocation is the second leading cause of death in children under the age of 4. Usually involves with co-sleeping and improper things in cribs and things like that. That leads to those suffocation type of instances. But lots of things can lead to problems in your home. And being a diligent parent includes making your home safe for your child, dependent upon their age, and what is appropriate. Now, one of the things that we come across a lot of times in homes, and one of the things we talked about as far as child safety goes, is guardrails. Okay. Guardrails, generally speaking, you should have a guardrail anywhere you have a drop off greater than 20 inches, or you have more than 2 steps. Because more than 2 steps means a 3-foot fall for somebody, right? And if you're under the age of 4, a 3-foot fall could be deadly, 3-foot fall for someone over the age of 4 can be a significant injury, especially when you get into older people and stuff like that. But guardrails have a few specifications that we're normally looking for when we're inspecting a home. For instance,
spacing
of balusters.
No more than 4 inches apart.
Yeah, and why that?
Just because for kids getting their heads stuck in between or falling through, stuff like that. And they also should be vertical, not horizontal.
Yep.
So it doesn't become a staircase for small kids.
Yeah, it becomes a climbing tool, right? If they're horizontally placed, okay, they're enticing because children like to climb. I was a climber, and the last thing you want is your kid climbing up 4 feet to a 13-foot drop, or whatever. I mean, just the thought of it would be just scary.
And a lot of new houses, they have those, the cable balusters. They look really cool, really nice. But that's one thing I think of every time I see those things is, my daughter, she'd climb right up.
Oh
that
my
thing,
gosh, dude, yeah.
So
your kid, she was. I went over to visit you. She's climbing on the what was it, like the baby chair thing with the. I'm like, she's standing on top of this thing like it's freaking Mount Vesuvius or whatever. And
I was changing the diaper on the other one, and she's climbing up my back, getting on my shoulder. Yeah. So
that's hence I got her jungle gym for Christmas. I encouraged
her,
right? Yeah, I know. So. But as far as these guardrails go, generally what you're looking for is a 4-inch spacing to prevent children's heads from getting through there or bodies from getting. I've been at ones where you could fit like a 16-year-old's body through these things. It's just crazy. But 4 inches is really what you're looking for. That 4-inch spacing, basically they assume that the average child's head that's going to be moving around, walking, crawling, whatever, is going to be at least 4 inches. And so if it's at least 4 inches or smaller, that head won't get in there. And the children, when they get their head stuck, what do they do? They flail, they jerk, they try to get themselves free, right? And at that time, they're going to cause spinal cord injuries and neck injuries and muscle tears and things, which, I mean, for a little kid, when they're stuck, they can pull pretty hard, I've
had 2 clients over the years that said they got their head stuck in balusters.
When they were kids? Oh, yeah. I remember when I was a kid, I stuck this fat head right through the balusters, and I didn't get stuck, thankfully, but I could definitely see where you could, You get past the ears, and then you're, up to your chin. And so guardrails, generally, you also want them to be on a deck. You'd be looking for a guardrail height of at least 42 inches, okay? In a home, guardrail height should be at least 3 feet, okay? If it's less than 3 feet, not only is it an issue for small children, but it's also an issue for adults because then we get below our center of gravity. And if that guardrail is at below your center of gravity, you accidentally bump into it, you can go ass over tea kettle. Yeah. So 36 inches inside of a home, 42 inches outside of a home. And remember, any drop greater than 20 inches, lots of times the most common place I'll see that is like at front porches, like they have a handrail on one side of the houses, but then they have this big drop off on the other side. If it's dark out, somebody's coming into the house at Christmas time, I mean, that's a big drop, and when you're not expecting it in the dark, so definitely something to watch out for. The next thing we're going to talk about are safety outlets and plug blockers. So in all honesty, I get annoyed by plug blockers when I'm inspecting houses.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
especially when they're on every single
and the house outlet. Is vacant. I get it. We got to have not that one. Which one is it?
It's
not that one.
The big pack.
Of course, it's this big one here.
Yeah.
Whoop, taking out the Diet Coke sponsor. So these plug outlets, they're just basically a two-prong thing. Sticks in the hot and the neutral side of the outlet. And it works really good for preventing little kids from sticking things in and stuff like that. But when I'm going to inspect, I mean, it's just me being annoyed, but I shouldn't be, because I'm glad that people are being safe with their kids. But from a home inspector, I got to take my little tool, pop that thing off, which they make them flat. Like they make them beveled at the edges, so they're really hard to get stuff behind to pull it off,
These ones actually have a little notch at the top of them.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, so you can get a little.
Supposed to put that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that way you can get
there to pop it off if you need to. Yeah. But when I have to go around and test 100 outlets, I mean, holy cow, that's a lot. That's a lot of plug blockers to take off.
Switched outlets in on top of it, then it's even more.
Yeah, for sure. So plug blockers are great. Okay. However, there is a new technology that's being put into majority of the outlets these days.
Code now.
Are they code now?
All new construction has to have. And if you renovations to your house, they're looking for tamper-proof outlets as well. I go to grab the
NEC book, but last time I did that, I took out a shelf. So
we'll leave it there.
We'll leave it there for now. But basically, the outlet has a little piece of plastic behind each of the openings that when you put the two prongs in at the same time, the outlet of the little plastic thing moves off to the side, and you can make contact. Okay, but you have to put two things in at the same time. If you just put one side in, or you're not putting the outlet in straight, it won't go into the receptacle. It works. However, lots of times when people get frustrated with it because they're not putting the plug in straight, they just push harder. Yeah, and then you end up breaking the little plastic thing, and it doesn't do any good anymore. But this is a great little tool. Even if you don't want to use the plug blockers, this is one way that you can still make sure your kid's safe. You know, so one thing to do. Plug blockers, they work. There's some different variations of them, but ultimately they're all going to do the same thing. They're going to stick in that plug. They're going to be difficult to remove, but they're going to keep your kids safe, which is the main goal. And they're not very expensive. I mean, this isn't a big kit here, which was like this whole kit was like $30, but you can get just a little box of them on Amazon or something for like $5. They're not very expensive. There's little pieces of plastic that prevent stuff from being shoved into the outlet. So, so that's plug blockers and safety receptacles. Windows today, a lot of the newer windows are coming with window restrictors on top where you can flip it out and only allows the window to be opened up so much, right? And the distance is supposed to be 4 inches, right? 4 inches so we don't get little heads and things in there, right? But it would allow for some breathing air and stuff like that, some air movement without being able to open all the way up that the munchkin could climb out or anything like that. And they're basically just two little plastic pieces that pivot out. If you go look at your windows, they're usually little, they look like little alligator, humps. And you got to push them up and then they pop out. And you can push them back in if you want them. You lift the window open all the way. But a nice little safety feature, that they're building into a lot of the newer windows. Obviously, we're talking about double hung or single hung windows here. We're not talking about necessarily casements or anything like that. Casements are just a different beast. But also with windows. Oh, go ahead.
The windows, the double hung. So glad you brought that up. So difference between a double hung and a single hung is the single hung, the top sash won't drop. It's fixed. And a double hung, both sashes move. So I see it. I've actually seen it quite a few times where people will slide the screen to the upper window, and then you just drop the upper window down because it's good for kids. They can't get out, but it's also good for dogs and cats. They can't get their paw up against the screen, so you don't end up with torn screens and stuff. So.
I'm of a little bit of a different perspective on that.
All right, that's
ready?
Fine. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So with double hung and single hung windows. Now the majority of people put in double hung windows, right? However, I'm going to suggest that you save thousands of bucks and put in single hung windows. Okay. Most people don't operate that top sash.
No.
You see that once in a while where they lower the top, but very rare.
Most people don't even know it moves.
Oh, yeah. Most people don't even know that it is operable.
They don't even know. Yeah.
But you're paying
and
a lot
they
of.
can fold them in to clean them.
Yeah. And you got to pay a lot of extra money for double hung versus single hung. And you're talking probably $100 a window, if not more than that.
I don't know.
I mean, yeah. So when you're talking about a whole house full of windows, going from a double hung window to a single hung window, going to probably save you a couple $1,000, and you're honestly probably never going to know the difference, right?
Yeah, probably
not. If you do have pets though, double hung windows, lowering that top sash might be a really good way to go. Keep in mind though that the bottom sash is still unlocked and operable at that point, so it could be lifted.
Yep.
So be careful with that. And also, when you have windows that don't hold themselves up, people, do not put a stick under the window to hold it up. Okay? Somebody's going to get hurt. If it's not you, it's going to be your kid, your cat, your dog, whatever. Something bumps that stick, that heavy piece of glass and plastic or wood, whatever it may be, is coming crashing down, and somebody's going to get injured. So don't prop windows open with sticks, all right? If you need to adjust your sash in some way, shape, or form, that the sash isn't going to fall down or it's going to hold itself up, there's lots of tips and tricks out there. If you don't know one, drop me an email, The Helpful Home Inspector, or is it The Helpful Home Inspector at Gmail? I think,
correct.
Right? Yeah. thehelpfulhomeinspector at gmail.com. Send me an email. I will send you some suggestions on ways that you can hold that window up without having to put a stick underneath it or anything like that. Okay? There's lots of ways to do it and to do it safely. So,
especially on single pane windows where they can
single
fall
pane
and
glass
just break.
Yeah, and if that glass breaks, it's super sharp in those old windows. Yeah, they didn't use tempered glass, but definitely something to be careful with. All right.
Double hung windows are also nice when it's raining outside, but there's a nice breeze. You can lower the top part because it's normally over, or that overhang, the soffit is over it, and you can still keep the windows open and keep a breeze, which is nice.
True. Yeah. I have an air conditioner. I'll make my own breeze. Not that kind of breeze. You know what I'm talking about. Tammy's shaking her head. All right. And if you have a question, if you're out there watching, drop a question in here. We'd love to help you out in any way, shape, or form. Otherwise, let's get back to child safety. So child safety, the next thing that we're going to talk about is corner edges and bumpers. Now, this is around usually where you have your fireplace, hearth, and things like that. The stone. Oh, Michael's got a section there. There you go. So this usually comes with an adhesive material that goes right on the edge of the corner of the wall. It can go on the corner edges of tables and things like that. If you have your fireplace hearth, that stone that's on the front there, you can put that right across there. Anywhere that you have a sharp edge, that if a little head were to hit that, it would cause a significant injury. And this stuff is it's very soft, very pliable.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt.
And I got those off Amazon. You can get them pretty much anywhere, but they make, so this is, you can put it pretty much anywhere, coffee tables, like you were saying, hearths. Yeah. But they also make straight corner ones. They come in 90s,
okay.
so it's pre-bent formed, so you don't have to try and kink this to a 90.
And it just has an adhesive that you put on there, right?
Yeah, it's a double-faced tape. Throw one section on here, one on here. Peel off the back, stick it out, and away you go.
There you go. Yeah, super easy. But it's kids are not the most stable on their feet, so a good solution to making sure that little heads stay intact. We don't make any more bumps or grooves in them. So so putting on those is really a good idea. Tables, hearths, chairs, anything that's got a sharp corner, even drywall. A drywall corner could be sharp enough to really cause a significant injury to a small child.
That's why they do rounded corners primarily now.
Yeah.
So and they're plastic.
They got the plastic bumper behind that rounded corner and drywall in the new homes. Yeah. So the next thing we have is testing your water for contaminants. Now, the number one most harmful contaminant to small children's development is lead. So you want to make sure you have a low lead content in your water. All right. There are other things like arsenics and E. coli bacteria and things like that are harmful to all people. Okay. But lead has been shown to be a significant influencer in brain development and all kinds of other issues with development. So you want to make sure that your water is as lead free as possible. You've seen the old commercial where they have would you like some lead with some 2% lead or 1% lead or and they're like, I want no % lead in my water, and you ultimately do want absolutely 0% lead in your water. Is that really super possible. I don't know what I mean, there's acceptable levels of lead according to the EPA and the CDC, but I don't know. No lead is acceptable to me. So.
Yeah, we got city water, and then I put an RO system in, and that's all we drink now. You know, so.
Yeah. The RO system is really the only way to go. RO is going to remove almost all the lead out of it. I mean, if not all of it, almost all of it, and really give you probably the cleanest water possible. And if you do put it on a RO system, and any water that you're using for consuming is where the concern is. Bathing with lead, with lead water, and washing your hands and taking a shower and stuff like that isn't going to dramatically affect you. It's consumption. When it's when that lead gets into your body. Reverse osmosis system. What is it? The reverse osmosis is that RO system, and basically what it is, it's just a set of filters that will basically the first one gets large particulate, the second one gets micro particulate, and then the last one it gets like bacteria and things like that, like things that are smaller that you'll never see.
Yeah,
you know. So
and there's all different. There's 3-part systems. There's all the way up to like I think 7-part systems now with filters and
I mean
not quite RO systems.
Not quite distilled, but pretty close. Yeah, pretty close. And you can get it come right out of the refrigerator. You can get it to come right out of a separate little faucet next to your faucet in your sink, your kitchen, and systems $1,000 to $1,500
if you have somebody install it.
If you have somebody put it in, If you buy it at the store, $500-600, $250.
I bought mine for $250, and I mean you can spend $800,000 and then you have to install it yourself. Just depends.
It depends on what your knowledge level is.
Yeah.
Don't listen to the 16-year-old kid at Home Depot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's a lot better resources out there for that. And if you need one, send us an email, thehelpfulhomeinspector@gmail.com. All right. Now, as far as the clean water goes, any other things?
And the only other thing I can think of water related has to do with just sanitizing baby bottles and stuff.
Yeah,
that's about it. But it's getting boiled basically. So
Now the next thing we have is pool fences and gates. Generally speaking, if you have a pool in every municipality in southeastern Wisconsin, I believe, you have to have at least a 4-foot fence encapsulating the area so that children cannot get in there. You can have gates. They need to be latchable gates. They cannot just be push or pull open gates. And they're required before the pool can be filled with water.
Yeah. I think homeowners insurance requires it too.
Probably, yeah. But when I was doing the quality fence and deck stuff, we had a couple of customers that had us come in and build these fences because they had pools, and they had the pool dug, they had everything ready to go, but they didn't know they needed a fence, and so the water guy showed up and they're like, I can't put water in here. There's no fence, So but you got to make sure that you get that 4-foot fence up, and not only to protect your kids, but protect neighborhood kids, protect you from getting wildlife in your pool and stuff like that. Lots of good reasons to have that 4-foot fence up. And remember, latched gates, they don't actually have to be locked all the time, but they're required to have latches. All right. And it can be a chain link fence, it can be a privacy fence, whatever. It just needs to be a fence, a restrictive barrier. So the next one we have is safety latches and locks. All deadbolts should be throwable, meaning that you should be able to flip the lever and have the lock open up so that you can get out of the house in an emergency. Every once in a while, we come across a house where they
just had one last week.
It requires a key to get out of the house. Okay, and
it's on a door that has glass.
Yeah. Well, and the whole thing came up because of the movies, right? Yeah. So they had the old movies where the guy would punch through the glass, or whatever. He'd reach his hand around and unlock the door, and then he'd be into his house to do his whatever miscreant behavior he wanted to do. I got news for you. If somebody's willing to break things to get into your house, they're getting into your house, okay? You just need to accept that, all right? But by putting a lock on there that requires a key to get out of the house, you're only hurting yourself, because that means that in the event of an emergency, if you can't find the key, guess who doesn't get to go out the door when the fire's in the house? That's you. That's your children. So you should never put a lock in the home to exit the building or exit a room that requires a key to get out. Okay. We want to get rid of all those. We still see a number of them. I still list them as defects just because of the safety risk.
And most of $15 fix. Yeah. I mean, defect, it can be a $15 fix to be a defect. It can be $1 fix. It can be
free.
$10,000. Yeah.
It can be free.
Yeah.
A water heater putting on 150 degree water, it's a defect. You're going to cause second-degree burns in less than 3 seconds to anybody under the age of 5. It's a defect.
Turning your dial down.
Turning your dial down with your water heater. Yep. Yeah, defects don't have to cost a lot of money, but in this case, when we're talking about those throwable locks, you want your children, in the event of an emergency, to be able to get out of the house to safety. And by putting a keyed lock on an exterior door from the interior is only hurting yourselves and putting yourselves at danger. So don't do that. When you go to replace those locks, when you move into the house, make sure you put in ones on there that have throwable locks. That's the way to go. And then what I saw, some of the new technology you can tie into your fire alarm, and when the fire alarm goes off, the door automatically unlocks.
Interesting.
Sounds interesting, doesn't it? Yeah. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I think it's a good thing. So
you can start a fire outside of somebody's house have the windows open, and then the door
smoke
unlocks.
goes inside. Yeah, but you're kind of making a spectacle of yourself at that point.
Oh, yeah.
But it does allow, if there's a fire in the house, it allows neighbors, fire department, everybody else to get into the house without having an extra barrier that they got to get through. Yeah. And if your kids or anybody else needs to get out of the house, they don't have to worry about finding the lock in the smoke while they're crawling on the ground.
Sure.
So I can only see an upside, really. I mean, the downside, somebody starts a bonfire in your front yard and your windows are open.
Smoke bomb through your window.
Yeah, if they're doing that, dude, use a boot. Just get it. Seriously. So that's that. Now, the other thing that we do, when people sell their house, they have to fill out a lead paint disclosure. And newsflash, if the house was built prior to 1970, there's lead paint. You should just assume it, okay? You can go and you can take a core sample and you can send it off for testing. And you can spend all kinds of other money and stuff like that. But lead paint, it was a fact of life up until the 70s.
Wasn't it 78?
It might have been 78. Yeah, so, I don't know.
Well, they got rid of it and then
there was chitter
until the 80s.
There was chitter chatter about it in the 60s.
Oh, okay.
But they really didn't start talking about banning it or removing it and that kind of stuff.
70s.
Until the 70s, yeah. Believe it or not, everybody thinks, well, where are they going to get the lead? They're going to eat the chips? No, the most common place that the lead comes in is during construction. Construction, remodeling, deconstruction, because we're breaking up those walls, we're breaking up those bonds in the paint, and we're making a dust, and that lead dust is what we breathe in, and then it becomes a hazard for our children and stuff.
Don't know anything about remodeling.
You don't know anything about remodeling. You're only a general contractor that flips houses. Yeah,
Safety from DHS is before 1978.
Say that again.
Before 1978 for lead poisoning among children.
It was allowed
lead
to be
paint disclosure.
Before, yeah.
So as far as the lead paint goes, assume it's in your home. Okay. Mm-hmm. The only thing you can do is if you're worried about paint chips, don't leave any paint chips. Encapsulate them. Mm-hmm. Paint the room, or whatever. Yep. It's something that if you are concerned about it, you're probably not going to be able to remove it. So if you're concerned about it, go and buy a house built after 1980.
There you go.
Then you're almost guaranteed to not have lead. Mm-hmm. Not guaranteed, but almost guaranteed. Yeah. So that's lead paint. Cordless blinds. I mean, I didn't really
cordless blinds.
I love them because they don't have the strings that break all the time and stuff like that. But I never really thought about it until I started doing some of the research. Strangulation from small children. When I started becoming a home inspector, it was one of the things that was in our training. Yep. And yeah, I get it. The cords that hang down, they're long, especially when the blinds are up. That cord's dangling on the ground, But so strangulation issues and things like that with the mini blinds. So having cordless ones are great as long as they work. I mean, there's some cheap ones that don't really work very well, but for the most part, almost all of them that I come across work really well. The only ones where I see it kind of struggling is when the blinds are very heavy. So when they have those like wood slat blinds and stuff where they're super heavy, those ones tend to kind of overwhelm the springs and things. But still a great idea. If you're going out and buying blinds, cordless blinds are really the only way to go. The favorite ones that I see are the electric ones. Those those are awesome. You go into a bathroom and they usually because we're inspecting the house, right? I got to test the windows and stuff, and I come across the blinds, and on the counter there was a remote control that had 3 buttons on it. Well, guess how many windows are in the room? 3 windows. So all I do is I push the button, and it goes open. I push it, and it could stop halfway. You can stop it wherever you want. Push it again, it goes closed. It was pretty slick. Cordless blinds or remote blinds are a great option. Now we did talk about fire safety in a previous video where we were at the Germantown Fire Department, but coming up with a fire safety plan for you and your family is a great idea, especially when you're in a second story home and the kids are on the second floor. How are we getting our family out of this house in the event of emergency? And you hope that a house fire never occurs in your life, okay? Tammy's had that happen in her life. Thankfully, nobody was home at the time, but it can happen in the middle of the night, and Christmas time is probably the most frequent time you hear about it, middle of winter, chimney fires, Christmas tree fires, electrical fires. Yep. A lot of it happens in the winter time and happens at night. So you want to make sure they have a fire safety plan for you and your family so that you and your kids can get out of the house where we're going to have a rendezvous point, so I know everybody's here and that kind of stuff. Let them hear what the smoke detector sounds like when it's going off so they're not just scared of it because they've never heard it before. Set it off. You should be testing your smoke detectors once a month, okay, to make sure that they're working properly. So your kids during a fire should not be the first time they've heard that go off, but it should alert them to, hey, there's a problem. I need to get out of this house. Not necessarily worry about mom and dad. Worry about getting out of the house, and getting to safety is the main thing. All right. So develop a safety plan for you and your family. Practice the safety plan. There's a fire prevention week. We'll have to look that up when that is. And we'll have to have Dick come in. Dick from the Germantown Fire Department will come in here and we'll talk about fire safety plans. And during that week is a great thing to just practice that plan, just to refresh everybody's mind so that you know what action to take in the event of a fire.
It's in October.
Is it October? Okay, so great time to do it, so we'll talk more about that. We'll bring that up at a separate video episode, but make a safety plan for you and your family. Now, as far as water temperature, we talked about in the beginning, we talked about turning the water heater down. Really, if you have children under the age of 5 in your house, you want to turn that temperature down to under 120 degrees. Until age 5, the kid's skin is very thin. They haven't got a lot of layers of skin and stuff. Their toughness on the outside of their skin hasn't built up. I was going to call it hide. Sorry, we're not animals. Well, we are animals, so because it's so thin, they can actually get second and third degree burns pretty quickly. And if you get your kid out of that bathtub and they're red and blotchy on their skin, the water is too hot. And those are actually second degree burns. So you want to make sure to try to avoid that. Turn the water temperature down 115 to 120 maximum.
Mine set at 115.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be kind of... If you have a wife who likes really hot showers, it's going to be kind of bothersome, but
she just turns it all the way up.
Yeah. And honestly, 120 degrees is going to be a hot shower still.
Is.
Yeah. But the main thing isn't to protect the kids from you. You know how hot your water is. You know where to set it. It's those babysitters. It's the grandma and grandpa and people that come over here. 120 degrees doesn't seem incredibly hot to them personally, but when you're talking about small children, it's a different situation. So definitely turning that temperature down is a really good idea. And again, it doesn't cost you nothing. It's free. Okay. And actually by turning it down a little bit, it's going to save you some money as well. So
save you a buck.
Save a buck. Absolutely. The next thing we're going to talk about is anchoring things that could tip over. Kids like to climb, people. Mm-hmm. And when they start climbing on a bookcase or TV or
I actually got one.
You've got one. There you go. What is it called? That's a kit that you bought?
Anti-tip kit.
Okay.
You can buy them at Menards, Home Depot. It's just got 2 plates. These little black plates get mounted to the wall. And then they got little pins that you slide through, and there's this cable that you attach from like a dresser.
So one plate goes on the wall, one plate goes on the dresser or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you put that cable on, and then that's what, 4 inches?
Yeah.
Something like that.
And it's rated 400 pounds.
Yeah. And anti-tip kits, lots of times
5
if
inches.
you go to IKEA and you buy a bookcase, it comes with a strap, like an anti-tip strap, you know. But most people just throw it away. I'd install it. It's not that hard to install, and it means the safety of your family. So it's a little bit of an inconvenience and having to install it, you know, because usually you got to get a ladder out and you want to install at the top. You don't want to install it halfway down because if that thing's tipping and halfway down, you have 4 inches. That thing's already past the tipping point, and that's going to fall. Yeah, it's just going to tear that fabric off the wall. So putting it up at the top or whatever. I know it's a little bit of an inconvenience. But really good idea. It doesn't cost that much money. I mean, how much would that kit cost you?
I don't remember. It was like under $10.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and with if you put that kind on, you can actually just take the part off the wall and take the bookcase and move it wherever you want.
Yeah. There's little cotter pins that you throw in there, and it just holds it in place. And then when you want to remove it, you just pull it out, pull the screws out of the wall, and then patch those, put it to the new spot.
Wherever you got to go. Yeah, perfect. Now, the next thing we're going to get into as far as child safety in the home is something that is a hot topic, I would say. Yeah. Child gun safety. Okay. And I'm using the G word, I know. Okay. But it's something that we need to take a little bit more seriously in our society these days. Children under the age of 18 should not have access to firearms. Okay. Bottom line. There's no reason for it. No, what if someone patient? No, they don't need access to a firearm. Okay. If you're going to have access to a firearm, whether you're a child or an adult, you need to have a lot of training. You should have a lot of practice with that firearm. You should be able to safely, operate that firearm and understand everything that goes with it. But all too often we hear about kids that just get a hold of a gun and they're playing with their brother, and next thing you know, somebody gets shot. You know, I'm like,
yep. When we had our first kid, the doctor, when we were there, she asked if we had guns in the house, and I'm like, yeah, why? She goes, well, do you keep your ammo in a different spot than the gun? I'm like, never thought about that.
Yeah.
Because I keep it in a safe. I got a stand-up safe, so I throw everything in there. Yep. And they said, well, if they get in the safe, now they have access to both, and potentially it get dangerous. So, so just another thing to think about.
And so, Mike and I are both gun owners. We're not anti 2A or anything like that. We're both we like to go shooting. We enjoy going to the range and stuff like that. But you got to be safe, people, especially when you have small children in the home. They see these guns on movies and TV shows and all that kind of stuff. They'll even get them as toys, right?
Yep.
My kids played with Nerf guns religiously. Okay, we constantly had Nerf
Squirt
gun
guns
fights,
and
squirt guns, Nerf guns,
laser tag.
I mean, they're everywhere, right? Yep. And so when they see a live firearm, they sometimes will think, ooh, cool, okay? But other times they're thinking it's just like all the other toys that they're playing with and that they're aiming at their brother and stuff, right? Yep. Awful idea. Now, every time that you buy a gun here in the United States from a distributor, okay, whether it be Cabela's, Walmart, Fleet Farm, your local gun shop, I don't care where you're going to shop for your guns, they all come with a gun lock, okay? Now, these are basically a cable lock that goes up through where the magazine is, comes out through your discharge chamber, and they work. They're not going to be able to fire this firearm with this lock in place, no matter what they do, unless they have the key, okay? So if this lock is in place, that gun is safe. Now, they also do make trigger locks for rifles and shotguns and stuff. Generally speaking, these don't come with the firearm, okay, but they're not that expensive, okay? They're not that expensive. And if you have firearms in your home and you cannot afford, you have a rifle in your home and you cannot afford one of these, okay, send me an email. Talk to me. I will make sure that you and your children are safe gun-wise, okay? I have access to lots of resources as far as gun safety goes, and I'm happy to help you out at no cost to you. But if you can't afford to get the gun locks, okay? If you can't afford to get the gun locks, you probably shouldn't be affording to get guns, period, okay? But if you are going to have guns in your home, gun locks is where you start, okay? Ammo in a different location than where the guns are stored. Guns should be locked in a safe with a lock on them, okay? So that even if they do mistakenly see you punch in the code or something like that, okay, and they get into the safe, this is still preventing them from being able to operate that firearm, okay? And that gun guy out there is going to be, what if I need to get to my gun in a hurry? Okay, well, you don't need to get to all your guns in a hurry, all right? No. And if you're concerned about that, get a finger safe, whatever, in your dresser drawer that only reacts to your fingerprint, and you can get to your firearm in the event of an emergency that you need to. But we're talking about your kids and your family. And when they're young, you got to be safe, okay? And if you can't do that, then you probably shouldn't have firearms, okay? Yep. That's just the reality of it. So be safe. Get gun locks for your guns. Keep your ammo in different locations. Get a gun safe to keep your guns secured. And don't play with the guns in front of the children so that they don't think they're toys. They're serious devices that can cause death, okay? So we need to take them seriously as well, all right? Now, some other gadgets that we have for child safety. One of the things that's in this box is these doorknob things. Basically, it goes on there, and little hands can't get around to squeeze the doorknob enough, so these things just spin. They won't allow them to open the door to the basement and things like that. They also make those for, like, your ranges and stuff like that. If you have a gas range, they put them on there and you won't be able to turn the gas on in the oven, even though the gas knobs are like at a really bad height for little kids,
Right there in their face.
Yeah.
This is another style. This is just for a, instead of a knob, this is for a lever one. So,
and that's got the thing. Now, these are child safety devices. However, sometimes they can stump adults as well. But definitely something to put in your home. This is a little one for toilets. So I used to manage apartments.
Toilets. I got one to go along with that.
Okay. So I used to manage apartments, and I cannot tell you how many times I had to go over to apartments where stuff was just jammed into the toilet and blocking the toilet from operating because some little kid lifted up the lid and shoved some stuffed animal in there, Sure. And these basically are little push button things that keep the lid from being opened, or from the handle being flushed, because the little kids, the flush stuff happens, So these are another little device to help in the bathroom.
One of the ones I brought.
Oh, we brought a toilet seat in.
I brought a toilet seat.
Oh man!
But it's not just a regular toilet seat.
It's got 2 toilet seats on it.
Well, yeah, it's for the little ones. So you got the first and second one, but it's actually, when it's mounted, it's a slow close.
So no fingers get slammed.
Or other things.
Okay. We don't want things to get slammed.
No.
That works really good. I mean,
I've heard of stories.
Yeah. I've seen ones where we had a family come up north, and they have a little guy, right? So it's little guy, little butt, right? We have a elongated toilet
Just
seat,
like that
elongated bowl, just like that one, yeah. But we don't have that internal toilet seat, and so he goes to sit on there, and his butt just goes right through this thing,
Versus having this one
versus
down.
having that on. So what he does is he puts his feet on the seat and squats, and he's in the bathroom, and the little kids, lots of times they do their business with the door open, so mom and dad can come in and help or whatever, and so he's. Seriously, I shit you not. He's standing on the seat, squatting down, and he's taking a dump. I'm like, what? And I mean, we need an explanation.
They do it in China that way.
What?
Uh-huh.
When have you been to China?
I've seen videos. I've never been to China.
You watch videos of Chinese people pooping?
No.
Michael,
no,
you're scaring me now.
It was like a TikTok or something that somebody was talking about going to the bathroom in China.
Because that's the real deal.
It is. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Google said it. It's real, man.
I did not intentionally Google that.
How do Chinese people poop?
No,
that wasn't it. All right. I'll take your word for it. Now we have one other one over here. This is just kind of like that toilet seat thing, but this is for strapping the refrigerator door, so that the refrigerator door doesn't get open and stuff. And it's a similar device. You just push a little button on there, the strap loosens, and you can open the fridge and freezer as you need to. But it also keeps that door latch shut so that it doesn't left open all night or whatever, because some little munchkin was playing around with the door. So
I got 3 more quick ones.
Oh, do you? Give it. What do you got?
Unplugged chargers that aren't in use.
Yes.
Wall chargers.
So that they don't get chewed on and electrocute.
Yeah, we had that happen once.
Yeah, and strangling hazard as well.
That too. Yeah. Yep. Batteries was the other one. Batteries, especially the little tiny batteries.
Choking hazard?
No, swallowing them. It starts basically eating away the inside. It's emergency surgery. So especially those little tiny watch batteries and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other one was garage door sensors. The auto-reversing sensors.
Auto-reversing sensors are a good idea, too.
Making sure they're on the floor, not up in your ceiling.
Yeah.
Or sometimes we find
they're like this far apart on the ceiling or whatever.
Tape together, electrical tape together.
Nothing. And I get they can be annoying sometimes, but when your kid's going out on the big wheel and that door's coming down, it can cause a lot of damage, and some of those doors will come down with a lot of force and can cause broken limbs and things like that. So I mean, you can imagine the damage it does to your car. Imagine what it does to your child. But for the batteries, we went out and got recently, because I used to just keep a bucket of batteries. Just AA, AAA, CBAT, or whatever. We went and got it. They sell these cases for organizing your batteries, and it actually has a zipper on it and stuff. Which
I put them all in a tote and put them on the second shelf in a closet.
Unreachable.
There
you go.
She can't get to them. She can't even climb the shelves because there's no lower shelves. So
she's 4 now.
No, like the first shelf
up
is
there
this high.
I could see her pushing something up there. And
Don't give her ideas.
the Red Rocket.
Yeah.
Love you, Scarlett. All right. Now the Dustin and I have 3 boys. It happens. It does happen. It does happen. Yeah.
They stand on top of each other though.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for tuning in today, you guys. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you want to know when we put out the next one, give me a bell notification. It's a little bell on the bottom right-hand side. And subscribe. You want to know when I'm coming out with new stuff or whatever. You want to be able to check us out and be alerted to new video content coming your way. Subscribe button's really the way to go. Thanks again for tuning in, you guys. Remember, the better you take care of your house, better it's going to take care of you. Have a good one.